Okay, here's a quickie. After base coating with the blue-gray, just added some of the Wolf's Gray, Game Color Wolf's Gray, and just doing a quick dry brush on this, because again, it's very textured and it accepts dry brushing very well. This area here, which I'm probably just going to highlight like the rest here, these plates, because I wasn't too sure what to do with them. I thought about doing them bone. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to just keep dry brushing here and see where it leads. However, if I do keep this the same color, I'm going to go back and layer some paint on this, because these flat areas not good for dry brushing. So these are going to get cleaned up definitely with some nice regular layered paints. And I'm probably going to need to put a wash over this thing too, which will once again clean up the dry brushing. Speed up the process without sacrificing too much quality. That is the plan. Okay, here's something interesting. I just turned on the camera 30 seconds ago, said some crap, and turned it off. I was talking about painting the scales on the back here. Well, I'll go through the whole thing since you're not going to see that part. The scales in the back here, the spines, I am definitely planning on doing a bone color, and there's scales going around the spines. And initially I was going to do those bone as well, but that's going to be a lot of bone color. It's a bit too much. So what I just said, which you didn't see, is I'm going to paint these violet, which is the shade of my main base color for my army. However, I just started a little bit and then I realized, no, wait. My initial blue color, as seen on the Corsairs, that would actually look really good here. So that's really going to, draw your eye. It's going to add some more blue to the model. There's going to be more blue on this model once I start doing the shades, which we'll go into later. But I'm going to take my color, which, there it is, Stormy Blue, excuse me, Stormy Blue. Thin this down just to get the scales in a bluish tone, get rid of the purple that's currently on them. So just a thin layer of this, and then I'm going to start picking them out with the magic blue. So once the bone is all painted as well, this should look a lot more like the cloaks of the Corsairs. So that's going to blend in really nicely with the rest of the army, I hope. So now I want to start my washing / glazing set here to add a bit more shade, and also to smooth out the rough dry brushing. And I put everything else on hold for a while. This is a tricky step because once you put it on, if you mess up and have to go back, if I'm painting the wings and I mess up and hit this part of the flesh, once you put the glazing and wash this on, it's really hard to match that because the color's now got so many layers on it. You can't just go back over with the purple and even try mixing the white with the purple. Makes it hard to match because it's gonna be purple mixed with my highlight color, and that glazes and washes over it, so it's gonna be really hard to match. However, you also don't want to wait to the last step and risk getting some of this wash glaze on another part of the figure. So I'm going to do it right now. What I have here is a mix of blue ink, which is a tiny touch of brown. The brown is just slightly muted. I don't want to really darken it too much, that's why I'm not doing black. And start very, very thin, because if you start too dark, you can't go back. If it's too thin, well, you just add more layers. So I'm going to just start with the recesses. And just kind of fairly simply feather it in. And if it's not enough, like I said, you just wait till it dries and you go back. And there's two ways in doing this. First, I'm going to do it as a wash in the recesses, a spot wash. And then I'm also going to do a very, very thin version of this same color as an overall glaze once the wash is dry. And you can do these in either order. I'm going to start with the wash here and just work my way out. You could also, you know, do the glaze first and then work your way in. I don't know right now how far I want to bring the blue out, so that's why I'm starting in the recesses. And since you keep it fairly thin, if you mess up and get a little bit on somewhere where you don't want it, it's no big deal. You can just clean it up, just quickly wipe off your brush and feather it out. You can see it dries pretty fast. This area is already dry, so I'm going to go back in, darken a little more, and so I like it. And this process is going to take a while. Some areas, like here on the neck where there's a bunch of fine little spots, I may thin this wash out a bit more and then give it an overall wash rather than the spot wash I'm doing. And you know, this is kind of a playful step, because the paint's so thin. I mean, you slowly build it up and you tweak it and put it where you like, and if you don't like it, well, you know, it's going to be fairly transparent. It's not going to show up that much. It's the multiple layers that eventually bring everything out. And so this is going to take a while, and it's just kind of like doodling. Keep going until you're happy. Yeah, so that's about it. Work keeps rolling on. You know, I'm really sorry I can't show a lot of this on camera, but I've tried a couple different parts, and this thing is just so huge. Trying to paint here and there and there, just doing all this on camera just doesn't work. This thing's too big. So you have to settle for getting the post game reports. But the spines are done. Came out really nice. Again, like with the Corsair cloaks, getting I really like that contrast of the white against the blue. And the horns were done just by starting with the base coat of flat earth, then cobra leather. I think this is called leather brown now. I got a really old bottle. And then just mixing in more and more bone to it for each layer. And it goes fairly quick. So you just do the flat earth like all the way to here, and then the cobra leather to here, and then start mixing little bits of bone to here, and then more bone to here, and more bone to here, and just work your way through the entire spine, horn, or whatever it is you're painting. And that's it. And now, working on the wings. Wasn't too sure if I was going to go light or dark brown color with the wings, but I think I'm going to go light. Starting off with a base coat of brown violet, which is a bit dark actually, but I'm working my way up. End color. Where'd you go? You were here a second ago. Wow, I just had it in my hand and I don't know where it went. Well, it's going to be English uniform. Oh, here it is. English uniform. So this is a yellowish brown. There's a bit of green in it. It's going to be fairly light, so it's in tone. It should be close to what the bones are, or at least here it is next to the cobra leather. You can see, so it's roughly in the same field, but definitely a different tone to them. Yeah, so brown violet basically just as a base coat to slowly build it up. Main color will be this, and then a little bit of dry brushing, because there is a lot of detail on these wings. I was hoping to do more of a the pattern that I used on the harpies, the converted harpies that I did a while back, but the harpy wings are smooth. These already have texture on them, so they really call for some dry brushing and washing, just like the rest of the model. And getting close here. Once that's done, got to paint the mouth and a few little accoutrements, and we're getting really close.